All right, hello everyone. Hello Doug, thanks for joining virtually. Thank you, Mary, for joining us this evening.
Happy to
I
be
heard you
here.
enjoyed some- Yes, excellent. I heard some good food just now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. We're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is officially 6:02 p.m. We're coming to you live from Jesse Mays. To get things started, we'll go ahead and do Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, we don't have a flag yet,
Oh,
but we can still do it.
we're gonna
It's on order.
Right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll get a roll call.
Thank you. Chair Lawson,
Present.
Vice Chair Barron,
Present.
Lisa Butler, Michael Akiardi,
Present.
Jacqueline Hunt. Do not see. Your ex officio is Russ Sheldon. I do not see him. I will keep an eye open for both of them.
Excellent. It doesn't look like we have any unknown callers or visitors this month. Any public comments submitted ahead of time?
None submitted.
All right, it's a little different. Don't know how we're gonna fill our time. Quick rundown of the minutes from last month before we get into the good stuff. We had some residents call in as well as in person to discuss the Far West recycling development. There was some confusion regarding this being the city council meeting. We discussed kind of how we operate, how we can be involved in that developments process, things of that nature. And then we got into similar topic, Colin Russell's presentation on that development, how we can partner with real estate developers, things like that. And then we also prepared some questions for tonight's meeting as well, and went over some updates just on some ongoing developments through the city between the Blanco Opportunity Area, downtown, things of that nature.
It's like really loud. They're sneaking in here.
Any questions, additions from last month's meeting?
Go ahead and make the motion to approve the minutes.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Excellent. We are approved to keep rolling. So we'll go ahead and get started with some unfinished business. We have Mary Bosch here to do a deep dive with us on her community development presentation. So I'll kind of hand it over to
Well,
her.
great. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm really glad to be here tonight. And I remember when, it must have been a phone call, we were together on, it's been a couple months, but I remember one of the comments after one of my lengthy presentations on economic development in downtown, that people said, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Where we go, what do we do? Because there's a lot to do. And so tonight, we're hoping to bite off a few pieces of the elephant and just get started. So it's exciting to me that you're still here. Thank you. You're eager, you're still eager. It's November now. And by golly, we are gonna have an action plan for the next 3 months. How's that?
We love it.
Awesome.
Does it? Cool.
Yes.
All right. So I have actually a handy dandy worksheet. But,
Take one, yes.
you know, these come in lots of shades and colors, and this is really simple. It's like, basically, what are we gonna do the next 3 months? And so my goal for the next hour is to answer your questions. And Doug, I hope you get to join in letting us hear what's going on with you, and welcome to this committee and support for this committee. Couple things that in conversation with Bill, that I understand have happened since I was with you, which I think is really exciting, that the city has made a full commitment to Main Street, to the Main Street program. And Doug has gone to the Main Street Conference. He's met counterparts from across the state. Rare staff often are focused on downtowns, and they produce wonderful things. So wonderful things. Write it across your forehead, Doug. That's you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I've actually started talking to a lot of the Main Street coordinators and Downtown Association heads for some of the other cities in the metro area, and trying to foster greater collaboration between North Plains and Hillsborough and Beaverton and Forest Grove. So we're sort of on the beginning stages of that, but it's going to be very exciting.
Fantastic. They are all great models, and you can learn so much from all these folks that are right in your backyard, and they all have willing downtown coordinators. So the reason I'm weaving the Main Street discussion back into tonight is, and I've said this before, but it will eventually become more vivid to you that the role of this committee as it relates to your goal around downtown is in essence what an economic vitality committee does for the Main Street program. So many Main Street organization, we have like over 80 in the state now, 80 Main Street. Some are small, like North Plains, just starting out. Some are big, they have full-time staff, multiple staff. But almost every single one has an element of economic vitality because they are concerned about helping existing businesses grow and succeed. That's a prime function. They're interested in nurturing entrepreneurs. And, that was a nice. And of course, finding good sites, staying in touch with the community, with marketing downtown to the appropriate, business developer, real estate folks, so that everyone's dancing in the same circle. And all of the work of this committee, as if you took a look at the section of the downtown improvement plan that's focused on business development, it's all directly linked to Main Street. So you can say, hey, we already have our economic vitality committee. And Doug has probably met a lot of members of Main Street economic development groups, whether you know it or not. That's like your built-in peer network, which is just phenomenal to have this link and the potential for just ongoing learning and as you move forward with your plan. So I wanted to maybe start our conversation tonight before we dive into, okay, what should we do? What could we do in a meaningful way over the next, and I'd like to break work plans down into quarters. And actually that is, I think there's nothing novel about that, but it is an approach that the Main Street program uses. They, if you end up with a full-time director someday and they are part of Main Street, those directors get together and they are required to have work plans to be part of, that connection to this professional network and the Oregon Main Street program. So here we're going to jumpstart that tonight as well. But I thought we could start off by maybe getting a feel for what is going on currently related to business development in downtown. And it might be a short list, that's totally fine. In terms of existing properties, in terms of responding to interest from prospective businesses, in terms of cultivating new businesses and other related activities, because before we kind of march down a new path, maybe we should be building on work that's going on. So anybody can jump in and just,
Well, I would say one notable example recently, especially, has been Karen's new business, Pilgrim's Nuts, which has opened up in the Knights of Pythias building on Commercial Street. And I mean, not like a full opening yet, but you can see that there's a business in there now. And I'm really excited about what Karen plans to do with the space, because that's one of our first real storefronts. She's been thinking about serving coffee there, like pastry, just all sorts of different things that she could do with that business. And I think that is really exciting to think about, especially for a town that doesn't really have a place where you can get coffee, except for that little stand in the Chevron near 26.
so Doug, is that a role that you've been playing with this new business? Is just helping them begin to understand what some of the needs are locally that could be-
Honestly, no, they are kind of a little more self-directed. I just sort of have been getting the updates from Karen's presence at the Chamber of Commerce at the last meeting. They're pretty busy people, but we're definitely going to reach out to them more, especially when they get their storefront more situated and it becomes more like an actual public facing storefront.
Got it, okay. So welcoming new business, encouraging them, helping promote them.
That's one, Doug mentioned the Chamber of Commerce. That's one thing we want to work on, is get more connected with them as a group. We definitely have very little to no interaction with them, whether it's us supporting things like that. So that's definitely one area we want to.
So, and as an example, like whose job is it to do ribbon cutting or, provide a little social media splash?
Yep.
From the community side, knowing the business will do their own.
Yep.
And I think this is something we all know that needs to be done, that greater coordination and collaboration between the city of the Chamber of Commerce. It's just, I mean, we all have lives and stuff, and sometimes that gets in the way, but we know what we need to do in terms of that collaboration.
Hi, Doug. First time meeting you. Nice to meet you. You can't see me.
Nice to meet you. I can't see you.
Yes, yeah, oh, there she is.
There you go.
Yay.
There she is.
Apologies for coming late. I wonder, just picking up on that theme, if we should assign a member to regularly attend and represent our work, and I'd be happy to do that. As kind of wearing a couple of hats of representing businesses in the community. It's been on my mind to attend anyways, but and I can't self-appoint myself, but the idea that we have regular attendance and a report back versus some casual relationship seems appropriate for the work that we're doing.
Definitely. I feel like our actions, especially, oh, sorry.
It's okay. I was just saying, I'm not entirely sure that they're aware of the EDC, most of them. I mean, Rush Sheldon on city council is, but I think a lot of the membership isn't, and at regular meetings even, so there's a lot of room there to build a relationship.
I think that's really crucial too, like the casual relationship versus working in lockstep together. I think we have that casual relationship, but we don't know what it's like to work in lockstep with them.
Is the city a member of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
So yeah, so we just go in, have fun, go meet with them. We already have it set up.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if kind of like we've assigned different roles to different people, we should be a bit more formal in our expectations of each other, like not go if you will, but if I know that I'm supposed to go and I'm supposed to report out or supposed to represent or supposed to carry a message, or any one of us would be a bit more purposeful in our presentation and working with Cindy on the agenda, might get ourselves as regular agenda items versus kind of just showing up as a guest.
Well, it seems like for now, just forming the relationship and making chamber aware of what this group is about and working towards, and, you know, that's a great first step. And wear your new name tag.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when I was at the Forest Grove Cornelius Chamber of Commerce, we had our regular board meetings, but we also had the city managers were community members. So they came to our closed door board meetings. So that might also be something we consider, is reaching out to Cindy and asking her, hey, can we actually be part of the board meetings as a community member? We want to be a voting board member of that group, but at least in the actual conversations, not just the networking, shaking hands, that type of stuff, but actually where they're talking about business development and supporting the business community. So I know that chambers in the area have done it. I don't see why they would say no. It's just your non-voting fly on the wall, and you get to present back to them what's going on from our end, and then also get some information that you can take back to this group.
So there's an action item.
I'm gonna see Cindy tomorrow, so if the group wants me to carry a specific action, I'd be happy to.
That is really crucial, because the last time I was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, the last one that they had, we just kind of like talked about Pilgrim's Nuts a little bit, and they passed around samples. We didn't really talk about like the implications or what role they're playing in the broader downtown plan or economic development in on Commercial Street. We just kind of, you know, tried some nuts.
So it could be just that simple, taking that another step and saying, you know, we want to be supportive. That's a big part of business retention, expansion. And we know that marketing is critical. So let's talk about how our organizations can support this new business, or, you know, get the word out. That's a very simple task, and it's a great way to start collaborating with the chamber. What else is going on related to downtown economic vitality that we want to just make sure everybody's aware of before we dive into?
Well, there is a lot of energy around bringing the North Plains Farmers Market back. And at the last chamber meeting, I actually talked to Selena. She basically is very interested in getting it started up too. So her and I are going to start coordinating that in January, because I mean, obviously you're not going to have a farmer's market in the winter, but that is coming down the pipeline. So it is very key that you guys are aware of that development.
Fantastic.
Great, I'm sure this is the obvious one, that there's a downtown improvement project underway.
Oh, that you're a part of.
Oh, forgot about that one.
No improvements yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah, so it was a plan.
Okay, so 2 developments or items. The home that's red that was built in 1922 across the street from City Hall has been for sale. There have been 2 or 3 offers put on it. I met with the person who is in negotiation with their offer. They're going through 7 days of due diligence about them today. Sorry, yesterday. So we had a discussion and interested in seeing some kind of rehab to the property with some commercial space in it, maybe and or residential. So anyway, that's just, they were just asking questions. They didn't bring to the table a plan, and how can the city partner sort of thing, just asking questions. And then the other thing would be the Shiley Salon has moved out of their longtime location and moved all the way over into the new, I forget the name of the building, BBS Properties or whatever was the name of the entity that paid the system development charges. Either way, they're in there now with the boutique in the other ground floor suite. And so we have a vacant, small little building of questionable value next to a site that's been identified as an opportunity site by the downtown plan, maybe for food trucks, maybe for farmers market location. All of a sudden, we now have a little bit more of a palette to work with.
So Jupiter, is that a site that's available for sale or just for lease?
There's a for rent sign in the window. But Mary, you have a thought?
Yes, I want to
Please.
talk about,
Yeah.
if we're, I don't want to cut off this discussion, but
Okay,
I
but
do
maybe
want
we can
to,
come back to that.
yeah, let's come back to that. It's a bird in the hand as far as an entree to getting more information from the property owner. So is there anything else we want to put on the list? Anything that any of you are doing that we should be sure to acknowledge? And
I think just discussion around the warehouse buildings with the murals on them. Nothing in terms of very recent development, but there is one tenant in there now. How we can develop both the existing and potential new
Mhm.
tenants.
Excellent, okay. Yes, Bill?
Is this the first occasion for everybody to meet Doug?
Mhm.
Okay. Doug, welcome. Doug is a rare volunteer from the University of Oregon. He's going to be with us for about a year. Doug, would you mind just kind of giving the kind of high elevation kind of range of things that you know you're going to be kind of the working hand of the city on different things? Could you, and then they kind of hear what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis, and they can think about how they can interface with you.
Okay, yeah, I can give my spiel. So basically, I am this link between the University of Oregon and the city, and I am working on just coordinating various aspects of the downtown plan, and also, sorry, some people are just grabbing their stuff from the conference room. I'm coordinating the downtown plan. I'm also working on different events to bring more foot traffic into downtown, combined with participation in the Oregon Main Street program. Just my wheelhouse is basically anything that will bring people in and anything that will improve the character and the attraction to downtown.
So that would be like, especially just to bring it back to the Main Street program, that's the promotion element of Main Street. So a lot of times people will say, oh, well, downtowns are about just that. We're about promotion. Yes, yes, downtown organizations are, but you've got to have something to promote. So you have to have events, farmers markets, new business, new development occurring, et cetera, et cetera.
That foot traffic, it's essential. Sorry. It's a little laggy on here.
Oh, okay, thanks. Well, here's where I'd like us to go. With Bill's permission, I went back to sort of the outline of the business development plan memo and revisited this. It's been a little while since I had looked at it, and still the number one thing to me that is pressing for helping inform what's possible downtown is getting a handle on the properties. We've talked about this before, but here's Bill over here at City Hall. Businesses come through the door, phone calls get made, developers are talking to him about businesses to bring, and yet, you know, one of the most critical pieces of information to marketing downtown for business development is understanding what the possibility is for properties, not just those that appear vacant to the naked eye, but those that are raw land or are underutilized, and we know there are plenty of those, right? So I'm gonna just pass this to you guys. Sorry, I didn't make a copy of that page, but with your permission, I'd like to sort of go down an action plan of what does that mean to this group? What do the next steps look like to getting a handle on where businesses might have an opportunity to build on the existing base and add some vibrancy, right, to downtown? That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, would the first step be building that database of existing? Is that?
Okay, if I go up here and talk loud, or are you gonna just
Yeah.
completely lose me for you?
I will subtract you.
Okay,
The manual version.
okay, cool. Yes, the answer to your question,
Yeah,
building the database. My goodness, I think this would start to go to my garage. Club. Okay. So in the downtown planning process, in the downtown plan draft, some appendix, couple of appendices, there's an inventory of downtown properties. I believe there's also a list of property owners, but I know who knows where that information is. So building that inventory, I think, is critical. And what does that mean? I mean, I can put that up here as an action item. If you said this is our most important project in the next 3 months, you will end up with what I think is surprises, opportunities, specific challenges that will give you focus for the work of this group for a little while. Which while there are other exciting things going on in building relationships with chamber, with the farmers market, and with other new businesses that may come in. So let's just brainstorm, what does that look like? In the back of my little action plan there, I gave you a simple form, I gave you a slightly longer form, but bottom line is to get a lot of the information you need. Some of it's in Bill's head because he talks to people and they talk to him all the time, right? But I think we're also trying to build the capacity of this group and have a project for you to feel like you're making some connections, right, with the community. Honestly, this business development is all about relationship building. It's first, last, and always getting people to trust you, getting people to share information, property owners, business owners, prospective businesses, and then being the facilitator of the opportunity that they see with the opportunity in a location, a site, a cluster, a new development. And that's the real estate piece. So right now we can have 10 people lined up at the door to come to downtown, but we can say, well, Shiley, the old Shiley's is available. There's a lot more out there than meets the eye. That's the assumption here. But until we uncover it through those conversations, we're just gonna keep circling. So I'm just gonna pause before I dive in here and see if there's a question, comment, thought.
I think my first thought would be having, I guess, a more presentable database. So one that if the business owner has some serious questions or inquiry about potential lots, we can send them to, even if it's just a live document with some data they can look at, some links to photos, things like that, which I think this group would be equipped to populate and keep somewhat current, as well as if it needs, boots on the ground to go take photos and kind of document available options.
I think the other step is gonna get I mean, you have to remember, we don't control the land, the buildings. It's not my property to lease out. So we can build the database. But then we also have to build a relationship with those people that actually own the properties and make sure that there's a willingness to bring in new tenants, that they're okay with, doing renovations. I think that's one of the things that we don't want to get over our skis, is building up this database and then finding out that we have a database of a bunch of landowners that aren't willing to do anything with their properties. And so it's a both and. We need the database, and then we need to start going to those landowners right away and make sure that they actually have an interest in anything, because I can go out and sell a property all day long, but if they're not willing to sell it or lease it.
And that is the key activity. What you just named is a key function of getting the information you need to understand the potential.
Yeah.
Right? Jacqueline, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I like this moving of the mic. Thank you, Mary. So the role I think we're talking about is actually the role of the broker. And do we know the brokers that are working in commercial and retail properties? And there are people whose job it is to this role, and that's a relationship that maybe would be key to this. And it occurs to me that although I know many residential brokers that do a lot of work in this county, I don't know who our most prominent retail and commercial are.
So there is a dearth of brokers, commercial brokers.
Is Darth mean dirt, like not very many?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
it's,
sure.
there's really nobody. There's really nobody. So I think there's a transaction here, or a transaction there. I think a broker gets involved in the transaction part of it. But in my dealings, nobody around here is going to a broker as an owner's rep or as a tenant's rep on anything. From the chiropractic, not downtown on Glencoe, to the roll tide development behind Taco Bell, to the building where Shiley and the boutique moved into, to Shiley's old location, nobody is doing that. So Mary was referring to businesses and brokers contacting me and wanting to talk. These are all just people thinking that North Plains would be a neat place to be in. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to about it, because nobody's out there being that entity.
So two things that are not mutually exclusive could happen. We could try to fill that need, or we could develop a relationship who has a financial interest in serving that role, which is a professional role, and invite someone in or multiple parties in, but to try to get those kind of brokers interested in here and feeding them individually or more than one. I don't have anyone in mind.
In my experience,
Yeah.
with properties that are not on the market, brokers will not give the time unless they have a vested interest for some other reason. Maybe there's somebody in the community that says, yes, I will go with you to reach out to these property owners. But generally speaking, they may actually end up, through this outreach process, you may identify properties that could be listed, could be marketed, that you could connect a broker to. I agree with you. It would be ideal to have a real estate broker on this committee, but keep thinking, keep putting the antenna out. Where's that person?
It might be an interesting time to look for that connection, because I'm guessing the world has slowed down a little bit. And so finding an older broker that's been through a change and is looking more for local relationships.
The only broker that has been working in North Plains actively lately on any volume has been the gentleman who, with Commercial Realty Advisors in Portland, that's working with the Rembolds on tenants for the Glencoe property. And he has also been shopping different interests, a hotel, some others, just seeing that North Plains is growing and recognizing that it's a growing opportunity. I think he's a nice guy, and I think he'd be the kind of person that might come and speak and answer questions or kind of talk about what's out there. But, you know, it's one of those things where brokers, nobody knowing anything or not seeing any transactions means it's not much of an opportunity or really risky. 1 or 2 transactions, a little less risky, but still not much of an opportunity. I think the role potentially for you all is pulling them together information, beginning to market it as a committee or as a group, and being the catalyst for attracting maybe somebody who can kind of run with it, sort of thing. But that's my take on it based on what I see missing in the process here. But for some reason, people here are super hesitant.
Bill, I kind of
The
have,
businesses are representing themselves is what's going on right now.
Either one. Yeah.
You know, this question comes up with Main Streets, like in well-established, much larger downtowns, the Main Street manager will often have the keys to buildings. And people say, oh, well, aren't you playing a broker role? Well, actually, they're just helping. These are property owners who will not hire a broker because they don't want to pay the fees. That's 100% across the board common. And so the downtown program ends up helping market or being available to show properties that otherwise would not get a response, you know, or the property owner's too busy. These are generally not occupied spaces. So
Doug's volunteering to show property.
Yeah.
could I share an example that I heard from the Oregon Main Street Conference? So basically there was this contest to win some grant money at the end of the conference, and this one woman from the Oregon Frontier Chamber of Commerce gave a really interesting presentation about what she wanted funded. And it was this program where they would get these flyers that are like, your business could be here. And they'd put it up on the store in an empty storefront in Eastern Oregon. It had a little QR code that you'd scan, and it set you up with this intuitive like database of resources and different properties that you could potentially have your business at. Which it was really cool to see something like that on such a wide
absolutely
scale.
right. I mean, that's a tried and tested, you know, approach, and filling empty storefronts with interesting, you know, cameos and scenes, et cetera, to entice folks. But they don't do that without the permission of the property owner. So that's why this is such a critical first step, is just getting face to face and having that inquisitive, curious conversation, letting them know. A lot of people, you know, don't really know that there's been a downtown planning process going on. They don't know about a volunteer group of people working to improve downtown. So that's why I put here in getting the database ready. You can get that very basic information in a heartbeat on, you know, square footage and age and overall condition. But then preparing to reach out to the property owners, it's not a lengthy process. You don't have to present yourself as experts. You are simply building an understanding of the puzzle that is your downtown. Right now, there's a lot of puzzle pieces that we don't have a clear picture about. And the warehouse buildings, the Van Dyke's buildings, and I would say the Shileys, we need to find the right name for that. Whoever owns that property, right? That property is another key. And I love the Red House building. Sorry, Bill, that's what I'm calling it. You know, these are some things that are in motion right now, right? So these would be great starting places for having that face-to-face conversation.
How does this feel to you all? I'm picturing it's not a group meeting, it's 1 or 2 people going through a connection through Bill, or going maybe in the case of the Van Dykes, the cities have been talking to them for a while, so that would definitely be a direct collaboration with the city. In some of the other properties, not necessarily. And so I want you to, sure, there's some immediate needs, but I also want you to think bigger and broader. Now, I don't know specifically about your Knights of Pythias organization, but I do know that across the state, most of those organizations are not growing, they're stagnant. So they may have another new tenant in the building, hallelujah, and it sounds like a good one. But what's the long-term picture for this wonderful historic treasure in your downtown? Are there, what's going on upstairs? Are there other economic purposes, gains to be made from, I'm just throwing that out as another example. So I really want you to think about this as a process of getting the information from the people that control the asset, which is the property owner, and beginning, you're not going to get all the information in one conversation. That's why I say this is a relationship building process. You might just get a little tidbit, and it could be you doing most of the talking at first. Let me just share some information about what's going on down here. We'd like to get to understand you better, your intentions. It may take time with some people, and with others, they will just let it all out. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had through the years where someone will blurt out, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to sell this building, but whatever, but what, but it's the price, or it's the family member, or etc." But until you ask those questions, you don't know.
So to clarify, is this database that we're envisioning, is it all of the properties on, say, commercial, or just ones that are potentially available?
It's not a very big list.
No,
I think it
it's
should be all.
not. Okay.
But I would encourage you, to work with the city as time permits. In the downtown plan, it's pretty clear, and throughout the whole year plus of public outreach, everybody wants to see the warehouses better utilized. There's overwhelming support for that. So that seems like such a crystallized opportunity, yet we're missing some information. And that is the intention of the property.
Which index is it?
The mural buildings.
I know, which family of Van Dykes? There's quite a few of them out there.
His name is Dan Bennett.
There's like an army of them.
Oh,
I love your question, because that's oftentimes when you get into a discussion about, well, how do we make these appointments? Who knows this family? Who knows that family? And those people may not be in the room, but there might be another trusted banker, or CPA, or whatever, that would go with you and help open the doors.
Mary, I was just going to follow up with that. The other reason why all of the properties would be of interest, whatever the owner intent is, or whomever is in the building or whatever, is we are putting together a toolkit of urban renewal agency incentives. And we're not a big city, so we're not going to have a big toolkit like some of the larger ones are. And there are certain things certain types of revenue we don't get because we're not there yet. And those types of revenues can be spent more flexibly on different types of incentives. So, but understanding who is there, all the different properties, what the owners are thinking, what the businesses are hoping to do. Understanding all of that lets us kind of smartly tailor a toolkit that is more useful for that. So that's also part of the outcome value of all this.
Such a great entree in the first conversation too, right? You're bringing them a carrot, you know, a potential carrot. Here's some things we're working on. Here's, you know, here's Doug and he's marketing what's going on down here and all these things are happening. And oh, by the way, you will help us by sharing what your interests are. What are your plans long-term for rehabbing, changing this building, anything?
How would you use $50,000?
Jacqueline,
I do have a question, but Doug, your hand is up.
Oh, I just wanted to mention something really quickly. What do we plan to do in this database with some of the city-owned properties we have? Because we have one where it's like this shed right behind Last Watering Hole and the liquor store market with giant parking lot and like a little shed. And that could just be something that maybe we sell to someone and they do something with it, or maybe we do something with it to increase the economic vitality in our downtown, or that little yellow house. What are we doing with those city-owned properties when we're making this database?
including them and talking to the city. Getting that, you know, the city's just looking at each individually and doesn't have a clear path necessarily for all of those, but would be open to ideas.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that those properties are in the downtown plan as what are called opportunity sites with some draft concepts just to think about. So we're at least talking, so Doug's all over it. We're talking about them and they'll show up in the plan, but honestly, we got really mixed reviews about what different ways those properties could go, particularly if residential happens on any of them. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, even though the idea of growth and more people living near downtown gets mixed reviews, we kind of have to plan for it. So we can't eliminate that. We can't say, okay, fine, we're not going to do any residential downtown. We can't do that. So it's more of an incremental process.
Just by way, thanks, absolutely. So that they won't be ignored. Just by way of orienting yourself as a group, I really recommend the value of having your own kind of downtown walk around. And you take, maybe you take the property evaluation sheet, fill out what you can observe. You come to this, you know, maybe it's a Saturday morning, walk around and you come to it with information that you have. Here's the property owner and here's the site, and last time it sold or whatever you have at your fingertips. And then just get acquainted with these buildings. And there's no substitute for the perspective that brings to making connections to the businesses that are active and doing well and generating foot traffic. And oh, what if next door we had something to complement that, etc. So I put that in here as a really simple, you know, next step after you do the initial kind of information gathering. And then just in the interest of time, I would simply bring back what you've learned and what you know. You know, you might even observe other things as you're out there. Oh, here's a completely empty building that just has curtains in front. You know, I mean, you're gonna just learn a lot. So bringing that back and then kind of dividing and conquering. Maybe you start with 6 of the sites that are really piquing your interest and you think have the greatest potential. And you start down that path of outreach with those 6. To me, if you know, then I'm circling back to How much volunteer time do you have between your meetings? Even in 4 hours a month, you could get a lot done. Excellent.
That's such a good segue into my question, which is the role of this committee versus the role of Doug versus the role of the city. So, you know, with a background in customer relationship management, there is, you know, I would be a little bit hesitant to just deploy each of us to talk to a different business and what we would say and how that would go versus curating a message. So there is a body to all work,
Yes.
and there's a head and there's arms. And I'm wondering what role this committee plays. Are we the head? Are we organizing
Wonderful.
this? Is Doug organizing this? Is Bill organizing this? Are we the arms that are, you know, contributing thoughts, but we're gonna volunteer time to be that, you know, leverage our relationships? How should, I'm not sure how to interpret what.
Well,
seems like
I'll give you my interpretation. You are an extension of the city's plans and policies and vision for a thriving downtown. And so there would be 100% collaboration here. And you're absolutely right. This is number 2, prepare to reach out is, what are we doing? Who's doing it? What are the questions? What's the message? What's the approach to these conversations? Absolutely.
So keep going on to accountability, but who's, you know, are you familiar with RACI? Who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, who's informed? Like, who is accountable for organizing this?
I can step into the, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't have like an ECDEV or community development director, because that's who it would be. I kind of do those things. So.
Very well. You do those things very well.
Thank you.
Let the record show very well.
Emotion.
Thank you. I'm the most ECDEV director, finance director in the state of Oregon. Thank you very much. But having said that, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the term would be of those, but yeah, that would kind of be my role. So, you know, liaison, I would be part of, you know, part of the whole relationship building is the city needs to build relationships as an entity. You know, so it's, we would just have to figure out a coordinating role, but yeah, I'm kind of the, you know, the fall guy or the liaison from that perspective for the city.
Are you looking for
Would
like
they-
a message so that everybody's giving the same message when they're going out to? I mean, obviously, the whole group can't go out to every business together.
I don't think that's also the best use of our time, as each of us doing that. Like, there's, you got a big enough group here, we should be able to divide and conquer a little bit. The way that I see this working is you have the information available to you. I could spend hours on the county's websites, dragging out the title work, and figure out who owns what. But you probably have that information way more readily available than we do.
The fun part is sort of.
Sort of.
Like I had to go through for the transportation utility fee update recently. All the
Yeah.
businesses just got their bills, their brand new bills, November 1. I had to physically measure every space, building, commercial, non-residential in the city. And it overwhelmingly involved going to the county assessor records for the building. But you'd be surprised what little info, and I had to approximate or sort of like measure. So they're really, so when Mary says go out and reach out and learn about these buildings. Yeah.
And the other thing I'm gonna say is, don't get hung up in that minutia. That is not the goal. The goal is to understand the current and prospective future of your assets downtown, so you can grow the business space.
But I'll just do that, it made me have more another comment, Jeff, and I absolutely get your point. If the city already has an effort going on, we don't want to be duplicating something, we want to be collaborating and be working, partnering rather than us going off and doing something.
Is it, for example, is it my job to, is it one of our jobs to organize a Saturday walkabout and prepare the, go to chamber first, say, hey, we're gonna be coming around, who's even open on Saturday, where are we gonna go, who can show up? If you want one of us to volunteer to organize that one event, that's gonna eat up someone's time, or do you want us to show up and do the work? Like who's the hands, the feet, and who's the brain? And that's what I mean, Lori, is how are we best leveraged?
I think it truly falls on us, because I mean, we have Bill here, we usually have a city council member here. And so the whole idea is this council is put together to lead those efforts. So I think, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're kind of sitting back waiting for us to say, yeah, we'll start this project, we're gonna work on this.
Mhm.
I don't think you and Andy are raising your hands. I mean, you guys got enough going on with everything else. But I think you're like, yeah, please take this and run with it. And that's quite honestly where we're at. I mean, I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, just send me a list of every single business bill that you have.
Mm.
And I can build a database, just going on the Secretary of State's website, pulling up their articles of incorporation. I can give you every single business owner in a matter of a couple days.
So keep in mind, this is property owner for now, right? Unless it's a owner occupied space, right?
Yep.
And
I think,
I wanted to just, thank you. You're very detail oriented and I love that. I love
I
that.
just want to know my job is. I just want to know what I have to do.
Okay, so this walk around is for you. You're not talking to anybody necessarily. I just think as a group, you're gonna learn a lot just going door to door and looking at the condition and what's going on. And then that's just part of building your own information base. Now, you are in a slightly different role here, like economic vitality committees of main streets are not appointed by city council. They're volunteers just like you, and they just happen to join Main Streets and say, I want to do exactly what you guys kind of signed up for. I want to improve the economy, our local economy. So we're starting to, stretch out of maybe an advisory and information role into an action role. And that is something I think we've talked about for a long time now. And I think if you just think about this as information gathering, I personally don't think you need to ask anyone's permission. You certainly need to work with Bill and Andy to the best possible way that you can and leverage Doug, who's here for a few months, yay. And not everybody has to do this. You don't have to volunteer for, I will call out a property owner. There's other things that can be done. We're just trying to get something going. Just picture yourself going to one of those like wave pools and you're just in this shallow end and you are just wading in. And there's no other way to do it. Because there isn't anybody who has time right now to do this, I think, critical information gathering work. So it's 7 o'clock. We're supposed to adjourn, right? We can keep talking for a few minutes. I want to make sure you have enough understanding here and input and guidance to know what the next couple steps are, and then look at this 3-month timeline, knowing, there's some big holidays coming up. What makes sense, but keep in mind, this is, I think there were 20, something like 20 properties. It's not a lot of properties. And some of those might even be city owned already, so easy.
Where were you when the sun was shining though? Just kidding.
Oh, I've been here in all weather conditions.
I get it. If we're going on a walk, why don't we go 2 weeks ago? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Or going, yes, we'll be fine.
Honestly, if I might, I think to a little bit of an extent, I think the answer to your question a little bit ends up being what you all think after the walk around. Because I think then you can all sort of say, okay, we definitely need somebody whose really primary activity is going to be the liaison with the chamber. And we need 2 people who really are passionate about understanding these properties. Bill and Doug at the city can get their hands dirty with the data about, like, for instance, we're actually right now paying for a brand new in-house GIS system. This could be a data layer. The properties, how, some idea of space and just information about them. I mean, so there are things going on at the city where you would interface with us on that. I don't think anybody is looking for you to get your hands dirty a lot with a lot of this stuff, but I think you can kind of be involved, direct it, help motivate it, and be the interface with property owners and the chamber and others to kind of help move the ball forward, is what I would say. So Chris, as much as I admire your enthusiasm to go through the Secretary of State's
So easy.
business filings.
I do it all day long. It's really
Do
easy.
you work at a bank or something?
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I think everything we've discussed in terms of like day-to-day pulling information together and spending a lot of time doing things, it's all within the scope of what Doug is here to help us with. So we can figure out roles a little better as it evolves, but I think we'll know more as we move forward. But between Doug and I, that'll be a lot of the legwork on some of this. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. I am definitely willing to get my hands dirty with some of this. Like GIS, I'm relatively well versed in, and I've been building some of those relationships with people on the chamber. And I think that having, a fresh face talking to them who just kind of started would make them a little more amenable to what we want to accomplish.
Big action item for today. You already said you want to be the rep for the chamber. It'd be nice to walk away with some action items. And so I think I was writing it to Eric earlier. I was like, do we need to make a motion? Like, does this need to be official? It's that accountability piece that we were talking about, like to where you are the EDC's liaison to the chamber. And then also I think we need to invite the chamber here. At some point, they should come to a meeting and they should hear what these meetings are about. Because if we really want to build a partnership, it's a two-way street. It's not just us going and listening to them. It's, hey, come here and listen to what we're doing as well. And they might have ideas where they can jump in and say, oh, we can take care of that. We're already doing that. So the idea, we don't need to double up on efforts. We just need to build those relationships. So I think action items, someone make a motion. And then let's get Cindy here at our next meeting.
Just got an invitation from the chamber for a
Perfect.
holiday kickoff get together Thursday, November 17th. I can email this out to all of you guys.
Send it to us.
It's at Wakawali Christmas Forest, which is Patty's Creek Farm up there, so I will send it out to all
Please
of you.
do. Yeah, I think that's an easy win. That's an easy way that we can say, hey, look, we're doing something. And then the other piece of it, the properties, I'm free on Saturdays. If you guys want to go on a walk, I'll buy beers for us afterwards, or mimosas.
Pick a date, get started.
Yeah. You guys want to pick a date of when we can go on a walk?
Yes, I think that definitely should be one of the action items.
Doug says yes. I like Doug's attitude.
Thank you.
All right, so not this Saturday when it's big. Well, it's probably gonna get rained on no matter where we're at. Most Saturdays I'm free, so pretty much you say when I'm 5 blocks away from our downtown area, I can walk right over.
Okay, so let's think like next couple weeks, like,
To the 19th,
huh?
the 12th or the 19th would be the next 2 Saturdays.
Okay, what does everybody think about the 12th versus the 19th? Anything, any
I'll be out
obligation?
of town.
The 12th, the
Um,
19th potentially.
Well, and also the 11th is a federal holiday, so I'm sure everyone's probably doing something for that extended
Not
weekend.
everyone gets that date off, you know.
What? Well, they do. About the 19th.
19th?
Sweet. So 19th, what time in the morning do we all want to get together? 10 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
I'm
7:30?
thinking later rather than earlier.
I know. Doug, you'll find out as you get older, you get to a place where earlier is better.
And Doug, are you in Eugene? Do you have to travel?
No.
Huh?
Yeah, where are you?
Are you in Eugene?
I
Doug?
live in like Portland area. I
Okay.
lived in North Plains if I could have found an apartment, but y'all know what that is.
Okay, how about 9:30?
There you
9:30.
I'll take it.
So 9:30, the 19th, and just meet in front of the city building.
Sure.
Yes.
Sweet.
Couple other small action items here. One,
Is what I'm looking
make,
at.
make time to have a little tutorial with Bill on understanding the potential toolkit that the city's putting together, and just how to introduce that conversation in conversations. Keep your eyes and ears open for a broker that may want to join this committee. Maybe someone's hiding under a bush enforced grove, you never know. The same with these key properties, the Van Dyke property, the former Shileys. You know, this is a small town. I bet you in a couple conversations, or probably with the chamber, you could find out who's got some great connections to open doors with those property owners and help you get more information.
Yeah, I mean, we even have people like our mayor who know a lot of the people in this town and go far back with some of them too. So I think we should be utilizing every single avenue like that.
Absolutely. And it did go through my mind thinking about how would, you know, if you chose to maybe two pairs decide you're gonna end up reaching out to property owners. Some small towns get a letter from the mayor to the property owner as an introduction. Hey, our EDC members are coming to talk to you. Please welcome them. And so it's not like, ooh, you have to sell yourself before you even get there. So does it feel like we're making some steps here?
Absolutely.
Yay.
One quick question, Mary. Sherry Stewart with the Oregon Main Street program has a standing offer to kind of do the official kind of orientation with downtown businesses and or the EDC. When would be a good time to kind of say, hey, Sherry, we're ready?
Yeah. You know, if you picked any time,
Okay.
but it would be a really great invitation to put in front of property owners as you are introducing yourselves and business owners possibly. So I'm picturing, you know, I think that will light a fire under a lot of people. She will help people see the potential that North Plains has not yet capitalized on the downtown.
Thank you.
That being said, we do need to make sure we do plenty of groundwork before we get her more involved to show that we're really putting in that effort. Which I don't doubt that all of us are like motivated, but we just need to put our best foot forward to make sure that this really has the maximum potential that it can have.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary.
I think it's back over to you, Chair.
Okay, I think we'll, ultimately, if there are like some questions we didn't get to ask Mary and want to dive into it, Mary, would you be open to us shooting over some questions?
Absolutely.
and-
Don't leave me out.
Okay,
So you should probably send them either to me or Bill, so it's,
yeah, compiled.
yeah. Everybody's getting some.
Okay, so if you have questions, just pepper them on over to Bill. as you think.
That's right.
Let's just send everything to Bill.
There we go. There we go.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Including a six-pack.
And then we'll circle back on some of the other items, like just further discussion on the Pilgrim's nuts and things like that in our next meeting. Sweet. Cool. Any other questions, comments when we adjourn?
We do have another thing on the agenda.
Oh, yes. One of our members, his term will be expiring December 31st. So we'll go ahead and ask Michael if he wishes to re-up his term, and then we'll put it to a vote.
Correct?
I do.
I do. I hereby solemnly swear.
So you just need
Motion.
to ask for consensus.
Yeah, can I get a motion to,
Make the motion to extend Michael's term.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No, you got work to do.
2 months out.
Okay, so that'll go before the council. It's kind of an automatic thing for reappointment. And you'll be reappointed before, at their second meeting in December, or maybe the first, so it'll done before your actual term is December 31st.
Doug, you don't get to see us anymore.
Come on.
Okay, well, we'll get wrapped up here. If nothing else we'd like to discuss, we'll go ahead and adjourn to 14 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I know, we're just adjourned. Oh, well, first of all, yeah, but is there, could we use one of our coming meetings to do it